This is SignMyCar. I'm Sabrine Dahan. Last fall, I discovered the true meaning of living in the countryside when I interviewed the Ali family in Friona, Texas. They own a dairy farm with more than 2,000 cows. I have so much respect and admiration for this family because they work so hard. I tried to follow them through a typical day in their life, and I couldn't. I had to take several naps and breaks throughout the day, and that had never happened before. The Ali family moved to the United States in 2008. And let me tell you, it was a bumpy ride. I'll let Koen tell you all about the entrepreneurial journey.
My name is Koen Ali, coming from Deurles and Martenslaten, close to the city of Ghent. We have a dairy farm in Friona, Texas.
Tell me, Koen, how did you end up in the United States?
I wanted to become a dairy farmer, and I had the chance to take over the dairy farm of my dad. I took over my dad's dairy in 1999.
In Belgium, how many cows did you have?
We milked there, we grew the place from about 55 cows to about 70, 72. The dairy that my parents owned was there since 1800s. That's how far the history goes back. But there was a problem. It was zoned wrong. In the 60s, they zoned the whole country up because there are so many people living on a small spot that we have to make rules to keep living together. They drew the line, and that was nature. I was the last generation to put fertilizer on the ground that was allowed to farm there and live there. Not being allowed to do anything on that dairy, that poked probably very hard to look outside the borders and look around what opportunities are there, what's possible. So I came in contact with people that were farming, dairying in Eastern Germany, Poland, Hungary, all the way up to Ukraine. Till one day I got in contact with a company that was building projects in the United States. They were trying to get financing. We were going to partner up, build a big dairy there. We ended up in Indiana, but the company went completely broke. Owner is hiding right now somewhere in Brazil. So the project never got built. Our invested money was gone. So we were living for 2 years in Indiana. We did a little crop farming there. We were farming about 200 hectares, 400 acres of farmland. That was not enough to support, and also whenever the company went broke, all those lease contracts were gone and so forth. So that was not supporting our family. What opportunity was left for us in the United States? So we wanted to become our own, we wanted to have our own company, but there was not a lot out there that we could find, that we could afford. So by coincidence, we came in this neighborhood. The dairy was sitting empty. There was no house here. We talked to the owner. He wanted to have somebody there at least to clean up and to keep everything running. I had to ask the landlord of the dairy if he could help me with financing a tractor. I had to ask the salesman of the mixer wagon to help me finance the mixer wagon. And whenever we had that all rolling, then we could find a bank that wanted to start helping us, and then that helped us to grow the dairy even faster.
So you grew really fast. You went from 100 cows to close to more than 2,000.
Yeah. If we look back, we could still realize, we can still believe that it was that we've done it, that it grew that fast. The first night after signing the contract to lease this dairy, I couldn't sleep. How in the hell can I sign a contract that we're gonna milk and pay for rent for 1,000 cows and not even, and we're gonna start out with 100. That's every time when we were adding cows to it, we saw new opportunities to produce more efficient. And at the end, that's what keeps us in business. That's cost of production. One of our closest neighbor, just straight down the road here, he has a yard and there are 50,000 beef cows on the yard. And 3 years ago, they did a little expansion. They went from 50,000 to 70,000.
So that's a lot of cows.
So that's only, from 50 to, it's like you grow from 50 to 70 cows. They grew from 50,000 to 70,000.
Everything in the US is much, much bigger.
Yeah, especially in Texas. So having 1,000 milk cows here in the area, they say that's a small cozy dairy.
For somebody that's not very familiar to the world of farming, how would you describe a typical day in your life?
Typical day, well, they all look alike. 7 days a week, 365 days a year. They start at 4 in the morning. Me and Els get up. She goes and helps milking the sick cows. I drive through all the feed lanes, check if everything looks all right, check on the amount of feed, if they ate their feed or not, if adjustments need to be made. Then I go behind the computer, check on the amounts of milk that have been harvested the day before, adjust the feed amounts, and then check on the computer if we can find sick cows. There are some sensors that we have on the cow that gives us good idea of how, if they're healthy or not, if they're improving or if they're not, what kind of medicine they need. We treat those cows. The crew that needs to do the morning shift should be complete. The feeder guy starts feeding, and the guys that do the milking shift start milking the fresh cows. After some hoof trimming, I have breakfast with Els and the children around 6:37 a.m. Then I take a little nap. Els is working in the office, and then I go to the office and to the dairy and do whatever needs to be done. Mm-hmm. That can vary from buying feed to repairing stuff to work with my cow people on cows that are sick that need extra help. All kind of things the whole day through. If we're lucky, we're done by 4 or 5 in the afternoon. If we have bad luck, whatever can happen. That's part of running this business.
Right, so you have been here for 8 years. Do you feel American after 8 years, or Americanized?
I'm still the Belgian that I was 8 years ago. As a Belgian, we did not develop. When we watch the news, or at least I do, is we watch Het Laatste Nieuws. I'm not watching American Today or whatever. Am I Americanized or Texanized? Probably some, yes. Will I ever become a real American? There is a lot of culture that I missed. If people start talking about the Dallas Cowboys and Kansas City or whatever, the rivalry in between universities and so forth, that's something that I just don't have. So difficult for me to follow. If I talk to people over here and they start talking about baseball or whatever, that's out of my reach. So that makes me uncomfortable. I might make them uncomfortable too. Of course, I like to talk a lot about cows. I'm very into cows, and there's a lot of people that don't like to talk about cows. So that makes me a little bit, a weirdo too.
When you moved here, is there something that surprised you? What surprised you the most when you moved to Texas?
To Texas or to the United States, all over. Maybe what surprised me is that you get used pretty quick to what this country is about, which we said is that freedom. And you start asking sometimes yourself, what's the normal? Mm-hmm. What's normal? Yeah, that's just what a lot of people believe in. That seems to be normal. But it can be different in between countries. And we are not that far apart. This is a Western country that keeps the big surprises maybe smaller than expected, I guess.
What's your favorite part of living in the US?
We came to this country. I like the freedom and the safety of the country. I like doing business in this country. It gives me and my families tremendous opportunities. If you want to grab them and work for them, it gives you great opportunities to survive also as a family. But I'm pretty sure not everybody is looking for this or is wanting this.
Talking about kids, as a father of 3 children, how is it to raise a family in the US?
I like raising my kids in this country. There's less support for the lower class. So if you can handle that part, then you can give your children tremendous amount of opportunities. On the rural country, there's really space for young boys to run around, play around. The disadvantage is that our family lives very far away. It takes quite some effort to maintain contact. Mm-hmm. That distance is just there.
If you had one piece of advice for a Belgian moving to the United States, what would that be?
Be careful. I think maybe that's an important one. Be careful if you come with kids that are close to the age of 18, because you get your visa. At the age of 18, they have to support their own visa, or they get illegal in this country. And I think it's a big problem. Mm-hmm. And it's not that simple to stay legal in this country. That's my experience. It is very possible, but keep a very good eye on that.
Thank you so much, Koen, for giving me some of your time. I know you're a busy man, and for having me for a few days here on the field.
Not a problem. You were welcome.
Thank you for listening to this SignMyCar interview. To find out more multimedia stories on Belgians living in the US, just go to our website on www.signmycar.org. If you like our work and would like to see more stories, please consider making a donation on our GoFundMe page. You will find the link on our website.